Hello and welcome back to Mark's House and Garden, where today I'm going to make a tiny tablescape. Now, I didn't even know a tablescape was a thing until I went to visit a friend of mine, Wendy, who's a professional florist. Now, I had noticed that every time I went for dinner at Wendy and John's house, they had beautiful flowers all up and down the table. And I just thought that was a flower arrangement, Wendy being a florist, but apparently that's called a tablescape. And very kindly, Wendy recently demonstrated how to create a tablescape, and you can find that video on my channel, and I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one. But in this video, I'm going to take on Wendy's top tips for creating a tablescape and create one here on my own tiny table. Now, Wendy has a large house and a large table. I live in a tiny cottage and I have a tiny table, but I'm hoping to get some great results. Let me talk through the kit. Now, incidentally, there's another camera on the table here to my right. I'm experimenting with two cameras to try and get two shots. So as I speak, it might jump to that camera to demonstrate up close what I'm doing. Anyway, the ingredients. And by the way, everything you see on this table is available from my Amazon shop, and I will put links to these items in the description box below this video. And if you buy anything through my links, I do earn a commission, so thank you, I appreciate your support. The first thing is I bought myself a little secateurs kit. Now, I've got a big chunky set of secateurs, but I wanted something with a little bit more intricacy, so I've bought these little kit, and again, available through my shop. And I have already been using these because I've already gone and gathered a selection of flowers for my tablescape, which is going to have a white theme. Secateurs. I've also got these two lights. Now, I already had these, but great for the dining table. The battery powered, you charge them up, they last about 24 hours, and you can have 3 different modes of light and you can dim them. So I thought these would be a great way of overlighting my tablescape up the middle of the table. Again, available in my Amazon shop. Not cheap actually, those. I think they're about 60 quid, but they've been well worth it because we use it every time we have supper here. I've got some super glue. You'll see what that's for in a minute. There's a little funnel, a jug of water, a turkey baster, some hairspray. Are you intrigued? I would be. And then I've got these trays. Now, these are off Amazon. They're actually medical trays. They're those trays that dentists use for bringing pliers and syringes, but you can buy them off Amazon, and actually they're good at organizing things. So but 4 of those, I'm only going to be using 3 in my tablescape. There's going to be tray, light, running up the center of the table. Now, on each of these trays, I've got these jars again. I bought a box with about 40 and there's 3 different sizes. They're all tiny, which is appropriate for my tiny tablescape, as you can see there. Hold them in front of that camera. And they're going to sit on that tray with flowers on. Now, how do I get them not to fall over? Well, you guessed it, super glue. I've already glued these, as you can see, no problem there. Super glued them on. I've got the sort of glue that you can stick glass to steel with. So now I've got 3 trays prepared and ready for my tablescape. I've already been in the garden and I've cut a load of flowers from my garden. Now, these are wildflowers, so they've cost me nothing. I've got some cowslips, I've got some white bells, I've got some white lilac, I've actually got some dandelion heads, which is what that's for. You know, dandelion heads, when they become seeds, are beautiful globes, but they will blow away. Buy some hairspray, spray them from a distance and it fixes them. So that's what I've done, use that for. What else have I got here? I think I've covered everything. By the way, the turkey baster is basically to make it easier for me to fill these up with. Quite fiddly getting water into these, whereas turkey baster, funnel, dead easy. You're just filling it up. And I'll fill all those up before I get started with the tablescape. So there you go. It looks kind of interesting already to me. You know, it's a bit kind of medical and a bit kind of scientific looking, but obviously we're going to soften that in a minute with a load of flowers. So it's time to bring in the flowers and build the tablescape. So here we are, we've got the flowers. So let me just run through again what I've got. I've got some beautifully fragrant white lilac off a white lilac tree in my garden. This, I think, is called cowslip or cow parsley. That just grows wild in my hedgerow. I've got these beautiful white bells, and again, these just grow wild. They've propagated themselves all up the border around one of my hedges. I've got some hawthorn because that's white. I thought that might look attractive. And I've also got a big hellebore flower there, which has got a kind of a white green tone to it. And down here to my left, I have those dandelions, lovely little globes. Now, these red stalks don't fit in with the white theme, but we'll be getting rid of those in a minute, you'll see. Incidentally, I did think, and by the way, this is true, there's a tube up the stem of that, so you could put some wire up there. If you wanted them to stay upright, you could put wire up. You could even bend them into shape. So I have a tray of those. And now what I'm going to do is build one of the trays for my tiny tablescape. So I'll start off with that one because that's where the small camera's pointing. And let's just get some of these flowers into it. Now this is trial and error. I've never done this before. I'm a beginner, so we'll see how this goes. I want to start off by putting one of those lovely dandelion heads into one of the vases. So we'll put that down there at the front, and that can just sit in the water there, all on its own for now. What should we do next? Well, let's have a go with some of this lilac. The nice thing about the fact that the bottles are glued to the trays is that it means that they can't go anywhere. I need a bit of stalk, so I'm just going to prune off a few of the lower flowers, which will remain on this tray. They may well get used, but again, that can just go in there. Now, Wendy did say, always take the foliage off. Don't let any foliage go into the water. So that can just go in there like that. And then we'll have some of this cow parsley. Bit longer, go for different heights, and go for variety. And now it's just a question of filling these vases with these different varieties and colours of white and white green. I'll thicken that one out with a bit of a bunch, and slowly but surely I shall build the tablescape with these beautiful white blooms. I'll stick another lilac in there, I think. Again, we'll need a bit of a stem, so we'll just take those off. Now, if you wanted this to last a few days, you would obviously go for flowers or plants that have a long shelf life. I only need this to last one day for tonight's supper, so these will definitely last one day. I'm quite sure of that. Let's put a bit of that lovely hawthorn into some of these short glasses around the front there. Now this is got quite sharp spikes on, so do be careful with it. But I can just get little tiny ones and just plonk them into those little tiny vases down there at the front. And there are several small vases on my side, so that one can go in there. It's important, obviously, that the flowers are in the water so that they can have a drink. And slowly but surely, now there's one of those little bits of lilac that I cut off. That can go in there at the front. And as I build this and it grows, it's becoming quite a pretty little picture. I'm quite pleased myself. It's already becoming something that I'm quite pleased with. The nice thing about these trays is you can pick them up and turn them around and have a look at both sides. It's all leading in that direction at the moment, so we'll go in a bit with a bit more of this. Oh, not put any of the white bells in yet. It's time for a white bell. And I'm going to snip these off, but I will keep them because I will probably use them. And that can just go neatly in there. And let's put another one in to balance it up. And that, to me, is starting to look really quite attractive. Don't forget, credit where it's due. I'm a complete beginner at this. So now we have one little arrangement, looking quite balanced. I might put another dandelion on that side there just to offset the one on that side, and that can just go in there like that. And of course these, as I've already explained, have been sprayed. These have been sprayed with hairspray, which means that they stay in place. The last thing you want is them blowing all around your dinner table. So anyway, there we go. So we've got one. I'll do the other two, and I'll give you the finished result. I'll pan along the table. So there you go, my tiny tablescape is complete, and I have to say I'm very pleased with it. For a first attempt, I think that's really rather special. I think it's elegant, it's light, it's proportionate to the size of the table. And don't forget, in there I've got white bells and hellebores and hawthorn and dandelion heads and cowslips. Everything white that was in my garden today. I do like the way these lights cast light down onto the top of these flowers. Let me just run through Wendy's top tips. And if you want to see Wendy's video, of course, there'll be a link to it at the end of this one. Wendy was giving me some top tips on how to do this. Basically, start off with your feature plants, your main ones. Put them in first and then build around them. Look at it from both sides when you're constructing it. Because you might be focusing on this side and it might be quite bare. The nice thing about these trays is you can rotate them around and check for balance. Be careful with candles. It's a good idea to use candles, but do be careful because you don't want to set your house on fire, and some of this stuff will be flammable. Go for different heights, go for different textures. I've got variable textures here. I've got the lovely, dainty, frail cowslips. I've got those hairy dandelion heads. Lovely acid lime green of the hellebores, and very pleased with the way it all works together. You can use mirrors underneath, that gives double the effect, and if you do use candles it reflects the light back up. I've not used mirrors, but I have used these stainless steel trays. Yeah, very, very happy. Remove all the foliage, don't let foliage sit in water because that goes off first, and I can go and sit that on a window ledge in my house, can't I? And probably get a few days of pleasure out of that. I'll be doing more of these, I think. Very enjoyable experience and quite a creative thing to do. And it just shows you that you can try anything. I've got a tiny dining table. It just shows you can try anything if you just exercise a little bit of creativity. I'll see you soon for some more tablescape adventures. Bye for now.